Drill 2. Now I've decided to switch this up a little bit. And so I want to just change the order of operations for how we attack, what we attack. So the first thing I want to attack in this is the hip bump sweep. So I can still do the swimming under. I don't particularly find this very useful in actual jiu-jitsu rolling, but it's good for making your mind aware of where the hands need to be. Wait, where the hands need to be? Really, I need his hands here. That's where. You could also just start right here, but we're going to keep this in the drill. I'm going to swim underneath this space between my legs and his arms, come up. I'm going to karate chop down. As I do that, I'm going to use my legs. Make your arms go out straight. As I do that, I'm going to use my legs to bring him in. Okay? So all that together will look like this. And I want to trap that wrist. Now I'm going to open up my legs and put my opposite foot on the floor and do this little shrimp. You can see my hips do a little bit of a shrimp out. I need to put my armpit on his shoulder. I grab at his elbow and I force him to hug me. Meanwhile, I pivot my arm out and straighten it. It's really difficult to lift both of our weights up if I just try to bench press, one arm bench press both of us from here. Now I can do it because he's not pushing into me, but if he's pushing into me, I can't lift up. I can't do this, I don't have the strength, but if I come here and straighten out, I can do this. Even with him pushing into me, I can still do this and scooch up a little bit, right? So now that I've got his arm trapped and I'm forcing him to hug me and I'm all the way up on this hand, I'm not on my elbow, this is a common thing I see. If they're not fighting, I can catch this. But if they're fighting back, I need to get all the leverage I can. So I need to scooch up as tightly as I can as well. Then I take my opposite foot for power. I throw my hips way up into Michael, and I just roll him over. So now, this is kind of counterintuitive for folks as they're starting jiu-jitsu. They feel like they should be pulling the other way instead of pushing through. Now that I'm there, I've accomplished my 2-point sweep. Then we reset. We start at the very beginning again. I do the same pull under. I bring him in with my legs as I'm karate chopping, and I grab his arm. I'm going to attempt the same sweep. As I do this, but he is able to get his hand out for a post right there. So now that I'm there, I take my back hand and I fall onto my shoulder, catching his wrist. Right? So I gotta aim pretty well. And sometimes it can get sloppy. Sometimes we go high. I see a lot of Kimuras attempted from here. They're too powerful here. I need to get out at the extremity and force the bend in his elbow. So again, as I try to hip bump him and he posts, and my hips are all the way off the ground, I take this back hand and I fall hard and catch his wrist. Boom, and I push. Now look, when I fall in this kind of twisty motion, putting me perpendicular with Mike. Now that I'm here, I connect my hands. My thumbs are to the side. I don't want to limit my movement by having my thumbs there. I'm much more mobile and I don't need to keep the fingers clamped, or his wrist clamped with my thumb and fingers. Now that I'm there, like I said, I need to force his arm to be bent. Then I use my legs to kind of shrimp and face forward, turning Mike's shoulder with my whole torso. Instead of being here and trying the submission here, he's got a lot of movement there. He can take it. Even Mike doesn't have particularly flexible shoulders, but he can eat that because my angle's not right. But if I twist and I get face forward like with Mike, and I keep his elbow nice and tight at a 90-degree angle and I start to turn, he's tapping. If they're really flexible and they're still not tapping, then I can add in my ability to separate his hand from my body. But I want you to notice that people are much more flexible this direction, right? I can bring him here. You about to tap? Pretty tight. Okay, right there. But if you notice, I can bring it down here and I start to separate from his body and he's tapping. Down here, separate from his body and he's tapping. So they're more flexible here. So I don't want to send his arm this way. I want to bring it out and that way. That's the most effective. You're going to catch everybody on God's green earth with the Kimura, no matter how flexible their shoulders are, if you do all these tricks. So then we reset. We're going to reset and mount this time as if I got the hip bump sweep. I just wanted to change those order, the hip bump sweep to Kimura instead of Kimura to hip bump because I like the attack possibilities there. This is an actual usable sequence and live rolling. Now that we're in mount, Michael's doing the Home Alone hands, or I'm So Cute hands. He's protecting himself from chokes, right? So I pick an arm, and I put 2 hands on one arm. Again, no thumbs. My thumbs are off to the side next to my fingers. If he has his hands clasped like this, I want to attack the top arm. If I come here and he switches the grip, then I'm gonna move right away to the other arm. The top arm is the most susceptible to the attack. Let's stay on this side. So he's doing nice cute hands. I put 2 hands on one, and I use my gravity and like my body to push his weight down. It kind of feels like he can roll me over here if he does a big bump. I can stop, right? But here they might be too strong. Sometimes they're really good at keeping their elbows nice and tight, but if I use gravity, it creates a lot more pressure. You okay? If I use gravity, it creates a lot more pressure. So I use gravity to push it down to the mats. The hand that's on his wrist doesn't leave the rest of the submission for the Americana. So now that I'm here, I drop my elbow down to the mat next to his neck. This is what people forget all the time. I see people try this from here and it doesn't work. Drop my elbow down to the mat. Then this hand on this elbow goes underneath, grabs my own wrist, palm down. A little detail is if he keeps his arm really pinned there, doesn't let me in, I can come here, raise up, grab my wrist, and slide underneath. Really easy way to get that if they're fighting off this direction, up, under, get to the exact same spot. Now, if I try this submission from here, Mike bends that way. We bend this way. This works, right? It's not abnormal. So this doesn't hurt Mike. When I let his hand stay off the ground, it bends that way. It doesn't look weird. If I keep my elbow to his neck and his knuckles dragging the mats, and I start to pull down, look how I'm kind of riding up my leg like a ramp. I don't have to get out of my own way that way. And I bring it back slowly, he's gonna tap, right? So I need to make sure, elbow to neck, drag the knuckles, make sure there's a bend in the arm. If there's not a bend in the arm, it means that my elbow is not against his neck. This is doing everything I need to make this submission work. Drag the knuckles, and taps. Then I need to end up in his guard just as he started in my guard in the beginning. So I know that an upa won't get me there. An upa will get him back in my guard, and I need to be in his guard. So the other option we use is an elbow escape. He clasps his hands together and he pushes. He's creating a pressure all the way from elbow to hand to elbow. He's creating this frame. And he turns far on his side, big far turn on his side. Yeah, he uses his legs to shrimp. We practice the shrimp all the time, right? So when he shrimped, he moved my outside leg. He created a wall. He's making me heavy over here, and he moved my lighter leg. Now that he's there, he pushes and recovers half guard. Nice. Now that he's on this side, he doesn't feel the danger of me attacking his arms, so he doesn't have to use the elbow escape. He can use his hands to push and recover full guard. Now, why can't he push with his hands on both sides? It's because of the possibility of attack. He's here. Instead of, if he does this, he's creating the chicken wing. Go back, reach for my leg, pause. He's creating this chicken wing. I can trap, just like the Americana, but reverse, the Kimura, like we did in the beginning. I can dive and grab this Kimura grip. Then I can set it up and I can finish him. So that's why he's not using his hand to push here. He uses his elbow. I cannot trap his arm for a Kimura anymore. He doesn't have as much push, but he's got enough push and he's staying safe. So then, he shrimps far to his side, makes me heavy on this leg, moves my light leg, recovers half guard, pushes my other leg with his hands, and recovers guard. Now, we're back in the reverse of where we started. So my hands are on his chest, he swims, and he does drill 2.